Welcome. Man, do I have a treat for you today. Yikes. So, Sean Sturrock is here joining us from Dallas, Texas. Sean has been in the real estate industry about 5 years. And in that period of time, he's been able to create a passive pillar of income that means he's never going to have to work again. And now he's spending his time coaching, mentoring, giving back, and that's what he's going to do for us today. So hang tight. We'll be right back with Sean Sturrock.
This is Honey Badger Nation,
where real estate agents from around the globe come together
to grow, collaborate,
and expand their business.
Where we take our individual fires
and put them together and make one big fire.
This is the Honey Badger Nation.
Sean, I just cannot tell you how thankful I am that you have taken 20 minutes out of your precious life to spend with us, and because I'm just dying to hear how you've done it. So you're in Dallas, Texas, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, it sounds like you are now when you say it that way. I love a Texas accent. Well, give us a little background on yourself. Your real estate journey, how it came about. I mean, I want to know everything about you.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for even having me on here. I'm honored, and I'm very fortunate and blessed to be in the position I am. So I definitely love to give back, and hopefully this will inspire some agents and so forth that maybe make an impact in their life as well. So my background, 56 years old, been married to my beautiful wife. It'll be 28 years this November.
Congratulations.
With two wonderful, healthy children, a 26-year-old young lady, Miss Lexi, and my son is 23, Dalton. And I came out of college and I was going down the corporate, path, because that's what my dad had done growing up. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go do the same thing. And I went chasing that corporate America dream. And I did that for 20 years with 3 different companies. And found myself looking up about 20 years into it, Kathy, going, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this for like 40, 45 years, right? I thought there has to be a better way. And thank God I'd been turned on to personal development like in my mid to late 20s, and used to listen to a lot of Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy. Then eventually I get turned on to Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins and some of these folks. And I remember reading a lot of those books and found out that most wealth in this world was created through the world of real estate. So it was back a handful of years ago that I remember talking to my wife going, man, I have got to figure out something else, because the path we're on right now, honey, I don't think we'll ever retire. We're never going to be able to save enough money. So I need to figure out how to make more money. But then I started to go down the path that I was being taught in personal development about you need multiple streams of revenue as well. And then you start to hear about the word passive income. So multiple streams, passive income. So I started to go on a pretty serious search there for a while. And I dabbled in a few things. I made a little bit of money here and there, but couldn't find quite anything that I could knock out of the park or really sink my teeth into. And so it was about 5.5 years ago. My wife and I are praying, and we kept going, what can we do? What can we do? And all of a sudden I start getting these messages, real estate, real estate, real estate. And I thought, all right, let me start looking deeper into that. And I started thinking about, wait a sec, I can flip houses. I could do investment properties. I thought, man, what if over the next 10 years, I could get 10 to 15 rental properties? Maybe that'd be the perfect way to passive income. So as I began to pursue that as a dream of mine, I thought, well, might as well get my real estate license, save on the commissions. So 3 weeks before taking my real estate test, I had already interviewed with about 6 different brokers. And then I'll never forget, 3 weeks out, I'm having dinner with a friend of mine. His name is Rob Flick. My wife and I had been friends with Rob and Jen for about 7 years at that time. And we're having dinner one night, and he starts to give me a stock tip. He knew I was dabbling in the stock market. Another way I was trying to diversify my money. And he starts giving me a stock tip, and it was eXp, which is eXp Realty that we're kind of going to be talking about today. And I looked at that. We were talking about it. I began asking him questions about that stock.
Well, 5 or 6 years ago, that was a pretty good tip.
Yes. And I realized, at that time, as I asked more questions, this is a brokerage. Then I asked more questions and realized Rob had become a part of it. Well, all I knew about Rob, it was kind of a mentor that I looked up to. He was about 10 years older than me, and he'd become a multimillionaire in the world of real estate. So when I began to realize he was a part of it, I said, well, wait a sec, Rob, I thought you were retired. He goes, I was, Sean, until I saw this model. I've come out of retirement because this is going to change the entire landscape of real estate. Well, obviously looking up to someone who's wealthy and made all his money in real estate, I'm all ears. And he
Right.
happened to be on
Of
a
course.
webinar that night, and I see it for the very first time. And I remember the light bulb went off pretty quickly for me. And I remember looking back at Rob after the webinar, and I remember asking him specifically, let me make sure I understand what you just went through in about a half-hour presentation. You mean to tell me this brokerage is going to pay agents 3 different ways, allow them to go over 100% commission, and they can get set up for retirement and create a passive income all within the real estate brokerage? And I went, hey, let me ask you, how many of the brokerages are offering this? And I remember him looking at me going, Sean, none that we're aware of. And I went, well, Rob, if that's true, why wouldn't everybody just eventually join eXp? And he kind of looked back at me and smiled and said, well, Sean, one day we think they will. Well, 5 years ago, there was about 3,000 agents when I joined. Today, there's 85,000. So definitely in the right place, the right time. And I do want to pause there for just a second because, Kathy, we're being told now our prediction in the next 4.5 years is to have 500,000 agents.
I was just going to jump in there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
people say, oh, well, it's too late. There's 80,000 agents. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
It's
Because if
still
I can
entry
add
level.
anything to that, as in not only would you maybe not have wanted to get started in the early days, because it's like anything else. In the very beginning, it was a little bit of a rough ride, very rocky road, right? There was a lot of challenges with the brokerage that began to grow extremely quickly, and the foundation wasn't ready for the growth we began to go through. I say all that to go,
And I have to say, Sean, that's one of the reasons I delayed too, because I like it simple, right? And so I wanted my path to be simple. So I, chose to wait. I probably shouldn't have, but until the kinks were worked out, which they certainly are now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just say all that to go, now when we're talking to agents, here's what I've experienced. Boy, in the last 12 to 24 months, there were agents who are coming on board with our company and they're moving 3, 4, 5 times the speed I did. Why? Because now there is a paved road. Now we've got guardrails up. The foundation's been laid. Heck, there's 1,500 full-time employees to support us.
Yeah.
So it's never been a better opportunity, and we're seeing growth unlike anything we've ever seen right now. I think, Kathy, it's about 1,000 agents a week that are now coming on board. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it's hit critical mass to a certain degree, but I think that the upside is virtually unlimited.
Yeah, agree.
So you did this, you came in, your question to yourself was, how am I going to be able to amass enough passive residual income to be able to retire? And, like we've talked about before, I even questioned the word retirement because, back in the day, it was the goal, right? To work, get the gold watch, retire, get a pension, and, whatever. And, that's not even really our world anymore. And
True.
so, and then what are you going to do? So, I'm not even sure that retirement is a thing anymore, but the way I look at it is to get to yourself to a place of choice in your life. If you can choose to continue to do whatever it is that's made you this successful, or choose not to, you have the choice is yours. But I, personally, I like to be in a place of choice. So are you in that place now?
Oh, absolutely. Very, very fortunate and blessed. I can say this because I'll speak to that whole retirement as well. I don't think I could ever truly retire. For one, I think I'd be bored, right? To be honest with you. But when I say that, what I do picture is starting to maybe work 15 to 20 hours a week, more coaching, more mentoring, and putting people on a path where they could get to where I'm at, if not even surpass where I'm at. So, I can just back up and just say, when I first got started with eXp, my goal, because I had another business I was running, so I was kind of coming into it part-time to begin with. I wanted to sell an extra 5 or 6 houses a year was kind of my goal, see if I could make an extra 50,000 on the side as a secondary income stream. Well, when I saw the model and the different ways you could get paid, the equity piece was a given. I was automatically going to start receiving stock for retirement by simply doing what I was going to do anyway, selling houses. But when I saw that you could also create a passive income stream, and I fell in love with the model, and I saw the talent that was coming on board, top agents, top brokers, top team leaders from all over the country, I began to fall in love with this model, with the masterminds, the training, and the entire model offering 3 different revenue streams, that I fell in love with the idea of going, what if I truly could bless other agents? What if they could get started in a model, come over here and look up in 3, 4, 5 years by simply doing what they're doing, selling real estate, and all of a sudden have options. So I love that word options. That's what I've seen here. I'm very fortunate now, have a couple thousand agents that I've worked with. We've created a group and a team now all over the United States, Kathy, that's, again, truly been a blessing. But what I'm seeing now is agents are coming on board, especially ones that are producing, doing this 3, 5, 7, 10 million or greater. They come over here and 3, 4 years into it, they look up and go, hey, you know what? If I want to, I could pull back the throttle on my personal production. Why? Because the other two revenue streams have surpassed what they were making in production. They're still selling houses, but now they choose who they want to work with, right? They can be picky, and they can start to give away some of the showing houses in the evening on the weekend. They give that to some of their team that are just getting started, maybe do a 25-75 split. So I've seen that eXp is allowing agents to slowly buy their time back and get options even 3, 4, 5 years into it.
And let me just jump in and add something too, because what I've also noticed in my much shorter time here than you, and I've noticed it in my own personal business, is that what happens is, people come for, what's it going to do for my business? Right. And what I've seen it do for people's business. I mean, you were telling me a story about a gentleman in Dallas who was a high producer, and he came here and over tripled his business, and he was at, a good number. And so when you do that, then you really are in a position to, leverage what you have increased to a team, if you choose to have one, and then still not have to worry about being out there and doing the grind every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have agents right now that I work with, Kathy, who have come into eXp and they're building a traditional team, but they're also building what we call a modern team or a revenue share team.
Right.
Give an example. I've got a guy in Little Rock, Arkansas. His name is Daniel. And I brought Daniel on board about 3.5 years ago. He only had 1 year experience as an agent when he came on board and joined eXp.
In Arkansas.
His second year, he was already doing about 8 to 9 million in volume. He almost tripled his volume his second and third year in real estate than he did his first year. But he looked up today, and now he's got 19 agents that are on his team, but 6 of those are on a traditional team, right? Where he does like a 50-50 split, but he gives them all the leads, photography, and what am I thinking of? A transaction coordinator. He helps with all that. But over here, he's beginning to build a modern team. He's got another 13 or 14 agents that are agents who just want to be around a group of people. So he doesn't have any kind of override or kickback from those agents, but he's brought them on board because they all want to work together and collaborate and so forth. And I'm seeing that more and more so within eXp, of all of us are coming together. So I've got a group of a couple thousand agents, but Monday through Thursday, we get together and we do masterminds every single day at 10 a.m. You don't have to attend any of them, but it's pretty incredible to think you can get together with 25, 50, sometimes 100 agents. And a lot of them are producers like you, Kathy. They're doing 10, 15, 20, even got one guy here locally did 50 million last year. Another guy did 37 million. And we're masterminding all the time. Like here in the last 45 days, the shift in the market, we had multiple meetings for several weeks in a row of, how do you adjust? How do we now communicate with our clients? Because everything has completely changed than what it was just 2 months ago, right?
And that what you mentioned is the level of collaboration I found here is just extraordinary. And I've been fortunate. I've always worked with great brokerages and had many, many, many really great realtors in my lives. But the degree to which that all of us are willing to collaborate with each other here in this big thing we called eXp is really, it's been mind-blowing, actually. Yeah. And also the entrepreneurship of the agents that are choosing to join us. I mean, I've been, the ideas, the freshness is crazy.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah. Definitely.
So you came in, you did, and now I'm going to guess you worked, right? It's not like this just got handed to you. I mean, you had to be intentional and effort and that sort of thing. I just want to know, what does it feel like now that you are in a place of choice and you do have the ability to devote more of your life to giving back, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that feel?
Unbelievably grateful. You know how you go through different emotional phases. I'll be honest with you, when things really began to take off, and again, I was very fortunate that I was able to team up with some very seasoned veterans that were 10, 15, 20 years in the industry. And when they came on board, it has such an impact on my life, and other agents began to come on board with us because they all wanted to be a part and be able to join arms with these seasoned agents that could help elevate their game. So I went through some emotional phase. I remember 12, 18 months into it, almost getting emotional going. I was watching my life change right before me because my equity was being built, passive income was being built. I watched this team that we were creating starting to go into 3 states, 7 states, 15 states. And all of a sudden, I'm a few years into it. I'm in 25 and 30 states with these team of agents joining us. And if you're viewing this for the first time, I know that may not make a lot of sense to some of you. Just understand there's a model that's so attractive to agents that if they'll just slow down and take a serious look at the model, have someone personalize it for them and really run their numbers, I think you'll see that any agent coming over here whose future is to truly be in real estate as a full-time career, in my humble opinion, there is not another brokerage I'm aware of that truly can be life-changing for you in a matter of just 3, 4, 5 years. I can't even fathom 7, 8, 10 years down the road, if you got your license parked here and you're selling real estate, you can truly create an exit or retirement income because of the way that we're structured. So it's I feel like I'm in a position now where I want to give back and just hope and pray that agents' minds and hearts are open to take a look at something that's unique in the marketplace that's never existed. Right. Let me say this one thing real quick. As I look back and I've studied the real estate industry, Coldwell Banker got started 100 years ago, and that was the way things began.
Right.
Here comes Remax in the 70s and 80s, and they had this new model that kind of took over. Then here comes KW in the late 80s, 90s, early 2000s that took over. Here comes eXp. So we're the first real estate company that I've ever seen that started as a technology company and chose real estate. Whereas most brokerages today already have been around for a while and they're trying to now implement technology. And so
It's interesting that you mentioned that evolution because I fancy myself a student of the game of real estate. I've been studying models for the entire time I've been in it. And so I personally went to Remax in the 90s because it was the cutting edge model. And I'm not a real estate company hopper. I make very intentional decisions. And then Keller Williams came along and I made the move there and was very involved with that organization. And it's a wonderful organization, by the way. I've got no shade whatsoever. I had a very good experience there. But then I started to study up on the models again. And I was like the same thing that you are. I was like, what? Huh? Is this really the thing? And they say, in our world, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The model. So that's what worked for me. So let's just, in the couple minutes we have left, let's just break it down. So let's say you're an agent who has recently joined XP, or you're thinking about joining eXp. What is the, and I say, okay, I sell real estate for a living, but this other part, is kind of enticing me, right? Because I'm a personal fan of unlimited opportunity. I think that most of us are who get attracted to real estate. So what's the kind of the parting thought that you'd leave us with? How do you get started on this freedom path that you are on?
Okay. And not to go into all the details, because really we get paid 8 different ways. I generally focus on 3 of them. But I want to make sure everybody's fully aware that the second way that we get paid, it's automatic. Right? We're all equity shareholders. We're a company that was built for agents by agents. And so we're all shareholders from the moment you sell your first house.
Right.
How that changes the whole landscape is because we're all equity shareholders, everybody has a vested interest to raise people's games to help everybody sell more houses, right? Because we all win by helping each other.
Right.
And the best analogy I always try to give people from a visual is, any brokerage you go to, no matter where you're at, whether you're independent, whether you join a brokerage, you sell a house, you get paid. Over here, yes, you sell a house, get paid, but you also get stock. House get paid, stock, house, stock. At some point in time, this little equity piece, because we give it to you 5 different ways, starts to add up. And there's where your retirement can start to be set up, or a potential exit plan. Right?
And, I have to say, I love when I get the emails that say, oh, you've just been awarded stock. I'm like, what'd I do? Nothing. Well, great. Click here and accept. Okay, I'll take it.
and if I can, I'd love to share one story before I get to the third piece, just for your audience to hear from how significant that can be. So a gentleman joined us here in the Dallas, Texas area. I'll just give his first name, Aaron. Aaron been around the industry since the year 2000. He was a big producer, Kathy. He was doing upwards of 20 million plus. And when we shared with him the eXp model, he owned his own independent brokerage at that time. He was the rainmaker doing about 23 million, but his brokerage is doing about 47 million. When Aaron, we really broke down his balance sheet and went through all the numbers with him, if he pulled his production out, his office was upside down.
Right.
So he realized he had been basically, fronting all the money to handle these agents, and he had built an office up to 9 agents. I say all that to go.
That's
look
so
at the
true.
model.
You see it time and time again.
Oh, and he was stressed to the max. He's the one, his liability, his expenses, his headaches, he's training. He's got agents leaving out the door, turnover, everything you deal with sometimes as being a broker. Looks at our model and realized, wow, I can build a brokerage within a brokerage. I can get rid of my liability, reduce, if not eliminate, my expenses, and definitely get rid of all these headaches. He came over in his very first year here. He went to 186% of production. In other words, he went 86% above 100% because of the equity piece and being a big producer. He was able to make way, way more money. But the big thing for him was his net profit that used to be like this exploded. And he got rid of his headaches and liabilities. So I say all that
Used
to
to
go.
be negative, and it
You got
exploded.
it.
Yeah.
Aaron reached out to us, and I'll never forget this phone call. He reached back out to us, me and another gentleman who had shared the model with him. And he said, listen, you guys, I'm just want to tell you, I've been in real estate now for 19 years. The last 2.5 years over here at eXp have entirely changed my life. He rode that train when our stock was elevating about a year and a half ago. And he ended up, within 2.5 years into it, he had $1.2 million worth of stock. He had cashed out 2,000 shares, paid his house, his cars, everything off, became 100% debt free. And I'll never forget his phone call. He said, listen, guys, I've been in real estate for 19 years, and the last 2.5 years has entirely changed my life. Thank you for sharing this model with me. And there is so many stories, Kathy, like that. I've got, say one other, and then I'll touch on the third pieces. I have a lot of agents on the team that are around that, 4 to 5 million, making a full-time living, do well, making around 100K. But they've looked over here, and 4 years later, I've got a lot of agents now who have quite a bit of equity. They're starting to see this little retirement component going, wow, if I'm in real estate another 5-6 years, I could literally see this being a way to walk away if I wanted to, or at least maybe pull the throttle back one day, not have to do so much personal production. You could maybe start to hand that out to other agents within your organization, do more of a split, and buy your time back. Maybe quit working weekends and evenings and pick and choose who you want to work with. And I've seen that now with hundreds of agents. I say all that to go, with all the collaboration, and some agents may not know this that are viewing this today, but in 30 of the 50 states, we have the number 1 or number 2 agent in the state. Well, guess who does a lot of our masterminds and trainings in our virtual campus on a daily basis? It's the best agents, team leaders, and brokers in the country, not the best in your office. So from a collaboration, mastermind training standpoint, you fall in love with the model because it begins to elevate your game. You increase your production. You start to see your equity go up. You start to see a model that's entirely changed your life. Even if you've been in real estate 10 years, you come over here 3 or 4 years and life looks different very quickly. I say that to go, most agents, after they're here for a short amount of time and realize the potential and opportunity to help agents raise their game, they're like, God, what if other agents truly knew what this model could do for them, their business, and their family? I fell in love with that aspect of it. I thought, they're going to allow me to be able to share this model with other agents that I know could truly change their life. So I became very passionate about that. And I'll never forget, I'll just tell you in the very beginning, when I saw the model, fell in love with it, saw the type of agents, team leaders, and brokers that were joining and what the model could do for them, I began to reach out to some other agent friends of mine. My third agent I reached out to was a guy out of Nashville by the name of Jay, another giant producer doing over 20 million. He had been at RE/MAX for 13 years, loved RE/MAX, bled blue, 1,000 houses sold, rookie of the year. I mean, he was a huge, huge contributor out there, had billboards and all that. I remember showing Jay the presentation because I wanted his sincere feedback because I looked up to him as an agent. I'll never forget, Kathy, he looked at a webinar we had at that time. He calls me back right after the webinar. Has said, Sean, this is the most brilliant brokerage model I've ever seen in my life. Because I knew somebody was going to figure it out one day. And then he began to almost sell me, Kathy. He went, I'll never forget. He goes, Sean, you know what they've done? And I remember thinking, what? I had my real estate license 3 weeks. So I'm like, how do you do a transaction, right? And Jay looked at me and he said, Sean, they've taken the model and they flipped it on its head. Instead of making the agent the last one paid, they made him the first one paid. Kathy, he joined day one. And because he had such a massive influence on agents, within about 2 months, he had 10 agents reach out to him and it joined him. Well, the way our model's set up, that also began to impact my family. And I always say that is, and I was very fortunate and blessed that my business took off very quickly. So I began to have a shift within about a year to 18 months of being here going, what if I truly now, because now I had a lot of time freedom and money was coming in passively, I began to shift my focus and become more of a mentor and coach because I was surrounded with all these big time 10, 15, $20 million producers. We had come together and put in systems where any agent could come on board and just follow a path to increase their production and give them equity. And some agents will choose, because they fall in love with that, will choose to also enhance and reach out to other agents and share this incredible platform with them, because there's never been a model like this before. You know, you fast forward 5 years, like you said, life is so unreal today. And all I truly want to do, Kathy, and I mean this, give back and impact agents' lives in the best way we can.
Well, you've sure given us a lot today. That's for sure. Did you want to mention the third way? And then we'll.
Yeah. So the third way is the company has created what I like to call, we have people here doing a traditional team, like has been around for the last couple of decades. We have over here the ability to create what I call a modern team. We call it revenue share, where we can refer, sponsor, attract agents to eXp, and the company shares the revenue with you. Doesn't come out of the agent's pocket. But if you bring an agent on board, every time they sell a house, they get paid like any other brokerage, but eXp also pays the sponsor and agents. And they do that down through a model that pays through, we call it 7 different tiers, where agents that I've reached out to and helped enhance their lives and brought them on board. If they decide to reach out to agents and those agents reach out to agents, the company will pay you through a model down through 7 tiers. It's amazing to take a look at, because it truly has impacted agents' lives in such a way that I'm mesmerized. Let me say this. I know we don't really want to get into money. The gentleman who sponsored me has become a multimillionaire from this model. He is now making millions and millions a year because of this model, because of these 3 different ways we pay. And now it's doing the same thing to me. And I've now paid it forward. And I now have hundreds of agents on my team right now, Kathy, who make 2, 3, 5, 7, 10,000 and more per month in passive income on a third stream within our model. Still selling houses, still creating equity for retirement. But this third piece passively now is starting to cover their house payment, car payment, expenses. And I always like to talk about, we've created a group now called the Freedom Team.
Yes.
And we help identify, if someone truly wants freedom, what is their freedom number? What do you need to have coming in per month? And we help people attain that. If that's something they want, it's available to all of us.
Well, Sean, thank you so much. You know, they say here at the Honey Badger Nation, it's one big fire. And I can tell you what, you have certainly lit a fire under me today. We really appreciate the time that you spent with us and what you shared. If anybody wants more information, just reach out. You know, we're here to help however we can. And we look forward to hearing from you. All right. Make it a good day. Bye.